Cujo figured out the puzzle because he actually read the clue, and it was, you should pay attention to where the light is shining, because you always want to put the darkness behind you and move towards the light. Meaning, look at where the shadow is hitting things in the level. You want to go to where the light source is. And that's the direction you would have to go.
Chris remembers specifying something about the light in the last episode while you were running around aimlessly.
Hey, you look familiar. Dangly Bits. That's her name. Her name is Dangly Bits now.
She also likes shooting her seeds at you.
And because it's Dante, he can't just, I don't know, hit him back like a normal human. He has to
or just
go into
like
soccer
dodge
mode.
them.
Yeah, or just dodge them.
What?
Yep. Dante, son of Sparta and master of physics.
Kickball champion.
Oh, got your attention. Man, I really wish we had audio.
I'm here for your dangly bits.
Yeah, oh, come on.
What?
Well, that's the game, guys. We're done.
And that was the last we ever heard of Dante.
Game Does Play Games presents Dante getting eaten.
You know, that would be a really funny way to end Dante. It'd be very, like Monte Cristo.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a story that I actually really, really want to read. Nathan talks about this all the time, about how, like, there are a lot of stories out there. You know, the traditional story, right, is that the hero goes through a whole bunch of turmoil and in the end, like, triumphs and everything was worth it. And hooray, it was all glorified and wonderful. But every now and then there are, like, really interesting stories where it's just, like, you follow, you know, some character through a lot of trials and hardship. And sometimes they just die.
Yep.
They just die. And that's because that is how life is.
Yep.
And it's so surreal when you encounter that in your entertainment. But at the same time, like, that's how it happens in real life. And it really blows your mind sometimes.
Yeah. I always think that that's, like, the most dramatic way to, like, end a character's story in whatever it is that you're playing with.
Just to have them just die.
Just fucking die. Like, out of nowhere, have it be brutal and heart-wrenching, and I always think it's the worst when you're, like, watching a show like that. She's really into this. Where you're, like, watching a show, and whenever it happens, there's no sound except for the sound of them, like, having their final moment.
Yeah.
There's no, like, music or anything like that.
It's just them.
That's why I think Boromir dying in Lord of the Rings, for me, is the saddest thing ever.
Because it's just him getting pelted with arrows.
Yeah, you just hear the sounds of him getting pelted with arrows, and that is the most depressing and heart-wrenching thing for me, because I love Sean Bean. And also because, like, a couple scenes before that, they were having fun and, like, sparring with swords and all that, and he got tackled by Merry and Pippin. Like, the placement-wise of that scene was very well done.
Yeah, I was even more heart-wrenching in the actual books, too.
Yeah.
Because, so Boromir not to talk about Lord of the Rings again during Devil May Cry, but it's whatever. So Boromir in the movie was, he wasn't a villain, but he was not likable. He was kind of a character that you kind of detested, but just not enough to, like, want to kick out of the group completely. You were just like, you're an asshole and I don't trust you.
Yeah.
In the book, you really understand his motivations and you can really, really sympathize with him and be like, dude, were I in your shoes, I might have done exactly the same thing. And I feel so bad for you that you are in this situation and you realized you were wrong too late and still had to die.
Yeah.
It was really heart-wrenching in the book.
It's like Burning Wheel.
Well, that was actually what I was going to talk about next, was some of the best role-playing games that we've played. Some of the best plots involve situations in which characters just die.
Yeah.
It's
that so we were initially planning on doing, like, a book, And I still want to write
Initially-
stuff. I still want to write stuff for it because, especially after this last arc.
So actually, to give a little bit of insight on what other things we're working on, we play a lot of role playing games. Cool. One of the games that we play is Burning Wheel. That's our game of preference. And after a rather successful campaign from Nick, who's also been on the show before, and hopefully soon too with the Curious Expedition, by the way, which is going to be awesome.
What?
Yeah, that game's amazing. So after a very successful campaign that he ran, we decided to run another campaign hosted by Nathan and actually record and document the entire thing. And we're actually going to turn this into a graphic novel.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And hopefully write the first chapter out, or the first campaign out as a novel book, and then do the second campaign as a graphic novel.
Yes, that was it.
And maybe even go back and make the first campaign a graphic novel at some point. But they're totally independent stories too, so you don't need one to have the other. Nice, you're very ninja.
It's Dante. We get new weapons, bitches.
I like the cowboy boot spikes.
Yeah. Oh, this so ridiculous. If I recall, are these just gauntlets?
Well, I mean, you got other
can't remember.
fancy stuff.
No, I know.
So
I'm
is this
just
why
trying
he killed her? Was to get
Well,
these?
because she's a big old demon bitch, and
Yeah,
she
but,
needed to
like,
die anyway.
Where did these come from?
From her soul, I guess.
So you just like... Alright, I mean... I guess I don't really feel like I need an explanation, but it's like, this is pretty far removed from what she was, so it's a little strange.
There's a weapon later, which is hilarious and awesome.
I love that he's just like wrecking this.
Yeah, he's got to practice. So hey, best way to figure that out is, destroying the demon door, which is something he needed to do anyway.
Oh no, I mean that's totally fair.
It's a gate or hell gate, whatever it's called.
So anyway, graphic novel. It's probably not going to be out for like a year or two, if not longer, because we need to hire an artist, because I sure as hell don't have time to do the art for it.
Yeah.
And I guess just get Nick to write it out in a storyboard.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that prospect.
Oh yeah, it's for things like this that I'm really excited about the future of Affinity Archives.
Yeah.
Because right now it doesn't seem like we do much. We have 2 YouTube channels and we have a lot of games happening very, very slowly, and they're generally pretty small games too. Fish Lap is going to hopefully be out in a couple of months actually, but we'll see about that. So yeah, it doesn't seem like we're doing a ton, right? Like YouTube channels and a couple of games, whatever. But we still want to branch out. We want to start publishing books and graphic novels.
Yeah.
At some point, I actually want to start publishing independent music.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the works for Affinity Archives. It literally just comes down to having the money to fund these projects and having the time to do them.
Yeah.
Because we all work full-time jobs, so for whatever we don't do, we have to hire people to do. That's why the website isn't the prettiest thing in the world.
Hey, it looks okay.
It's, I've grown more fond of it over time, but it still isn't where I want it to be. I've reiterated the website at least 3 times.
Well, yeah.
The first iteration, actually, I've reiterated it like 5 times. And as Nathan could tell anyone any day, I dwell on my designs and I redo them a lot because I'm like, no, this isn't good enough. I'm going to redo everything. And I think it still has improvement every iteration, and that's why I will always be an advocate for iterating your designs. Mm-hmm. It's just sometimes people like Nathan ended up getting pissed off at me because it's a lot of time we spent on the previous iterations that get thrown away for the new one.
Oh, I can understand that.
But the first iteration of the Affinity Archives website, oh god, it was awful. It was a WordPress website. Like, not even WordPress, not even like a self-hosted WordPress. It was like WordPress.com kind of blog. God. Oh, yes. And their restrictions on HTML and CSS code are so limited that I had to use, like, cheating CSS to achieve what I wanted, and I couldn't do any JavaScript either. So it was just like raw HTML using just awful CSS coding in the HTML. It was bad. It was really ugly. And I guess moral of the story is I'm happy I got my own server.
So we were talking before about dramatic moments in film and games and such like that when a character just dies. And I got on the topic of Birding Wheel because in this last iteration, there was quite many difficult moments where, like, we really get into the game, and whenever somebody DMs just fucking amazing, those experiences sort of stick with you. So there were several points during this last campaign where for a couple days I was like, I don't know what my life is about. Like,
well, that's how you know that you're in a really good playing group. Not even a good GM, not even good like scenario, but also good players, because playing with good players allows that story to develop in that way, to make you feel so attached and to feel so significant.
Yeah.
Because I've totally been in the same spot multiple times too in a lot of our games. Even when my last character died, I was like, that's it. He's done. That's it.
Yeah.
Like he had like God on his side and everything, and it still wasn't enough.
Yep.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like only scratching the surface, but no.
Gaming can be quite an awakening experience if you guys haven't tried it.
Well, that's why when I first gamed, the very, very first game I played was Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. And it was fun, but it didn't give me any satisfaction because, well, A, I didn't understand the system, and my DM was not a kind DM.
He's one of those.
But also,
like old Nick.
Well, the other issue was that they didn't understand plot structure and good game design. Because if you're going to run... a lot of people don't understand this or don't even consider this, but if you're running a role-playing game, if you are a DM or a GM or game master or whatever you want to call it, you are being a game designer. You're writing a story and you are designing a series of challenges for your players to face. This is actually how I knew Nathan was going to be a good game designer, was because of how amazing of a GM he was. Mm-hmm. And when I first was like, dude, you should work with me. You are a game designer. He was like, what? No, I don't know how to design games. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, you've been doing it for like 8 years. Trust me, you are suited to be a game designer. Please make video games with me. And he was like, well, okay, I guess. And
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because like he came up to me and he was like, dude, Chris wants me to be a game designer. I was like, why aren't you? He's like, but what? I was like, yeah, dude, there's no reason not to be.
Right? And here we are, like, what, 3, 4, maybe 5 years later, and he is just a boss at mathematics and systems design. If it weren't for him, I'd actually have screwed up a few game projects. But he has this just crazy capability of getting really deep into the system and just understanding how absolutely every tiny element works with one another, and being able to calculate it, like giving me raw numbers. I'm like, dude, how did you even what?
How did you what? What are you wanting?
But that's one of the signs of a good game designer. And game design is a very nebulous thing, right? Like, it's very broad. There's no one single type of game design or game designer out there. Like, sure, a good game designer should be able to do all of the above, but some of the best game designers are only good at one very narrow part of game design, and Nathan is good at systems design. He's great at writing and a lot of other things too, but that's where he excels.
That's his bread and butter.
Yeah, and like from my side, like, I excel at I don't know, what do I excel at? I probably excel at game feel and game balance.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's always like one of the main things you talk about is game balance.
Yeah. I mean, that's my shtick, and that's what I think most people associate with game designers is game balance, and that's a huge part of it, but that's really not all of it. And like, for instance, when it comes to high concept design or even just raw content design, I am awful. I'm garbage. I need Nathan to tell me when I'm doing a bad job, because then otherwise I'm going to release it and people are going to be like, that's terrible, dude. And I'm like, oh no, you were right. It's too late to fix.
Always a good thing.
This is why I'm not a writer. This is why I need people like Nick, because Nick is a great writer.
Nick is a fantastic writer. I read his, he did a little, like, blurb about a guy turning into a werewolf. Just that. And I, like, got sick to my stomach because of how detailed he got. And, like, with how he described the sounds and all that was like, bleh.
Yeah, man.
No, it was fantastic.
But anyway, we've gone on too long. This episode might be a little long, actually. But,
yeah, whatever.
I guess we'll talk more in the next episode. Woo! We'll see you guys in the archives.
Yeah. That's not what I wanted. Okay.
Crouching clap. I love it.
Come on.
Having a good understanding of like gameplay flow is no difference for how entertainment would be perceived from watching a wrestling match. And if you have a good flow of like, oh, this is intense, or oh, this is calmed down a little bit, oh, this is even more intense, oh, let's calm down a little bit more, oh god, this is crazy, this is the climax, and like, oh my god, this was such a crazy show. Like, that's entertainment. That's not just game design. Game designers talk about that, but that is good entertainment design, my friend.